or it may take a little more effort to convince the regulatory people that, hey, you know, we can't do this because of this funding thing. They usually aren't too favorable about that, but you know, there are times that you know you can make that case, and it's really, you know, we take more of a team approach to it. We have a good relationship with your grant administrator, with Greg Jones, and Melissa over at their agency. We've worked with them numerous times on other projects as well. They do a good job of trying to find money for you. You know, everybody wants a grant, and the reality is often you're combining some kind of a loan program or bond program with a grant if your cost of your project are that large. I don't know what grant funds you guys have talked about, but yesterday I sat in a meeting with a grant liaison, or a liaison from the Indian Office of Community and Rural Affairs. They're about the easiest maybe grant money to go after. They have changed their water and sewer program in the last year. You're probably aware of that, and it now requires a 20% match, whereas before it only required a 10. And the amount of money that's available depends on the community's rates. It depends on the size of the project. It depends on the household income levels. You know, the maximum amounts, if you hit everything, I think for maybe $500,000 or $600,000. But realistically, you're probably looking more in the $400,000 to $450,000 range of grant money that's available from them. Which, you know, the community I was at yesterday, it was $450,000. That's a $90,000 match. That's a pretty big chunk of change to have to come up with. So that's a pretty big amount. So, but again, like I said, I take the approach that I'm here to provide you with information and you know, guidance and experience that what we've seen work in other communities. Like I said, I think our regulatory arm is a great benefit to our clients because we have good relationships with the Paul Cluxtons, and I don't know who your case manager is up there, but is it Paul? Yeah. So we have good relationship with those people, and you know, they know us, they know our people on first name and basis, and pretty much know what we can, how far we can help, you know, on those issues, and it does help. I think it's something that makes us a little bit unique. But I know you guys have had a couple different studies done. I'm thankful that you guys have allowed us to review those and the rate studies and things that were done. I know the ranges of the project costs are, you know, are kind of all over the place. So, you know, I would envision that some element of this is going to be some pre-planning, so we can categorize it as preliminary engineering type work to make sure that we're eligible for as much money as we can. But I think there's probably still some effort that would need to be put forward at the beginning of the project to make sure that we're all on the same page on exactly what the scope of the project is. You know, I'm not going to begin to pretend what all those items are now. We know what the low-hanging fruit is, I think. So we probably want to start there and then add to it from that point. But with that, that's really the main thing I wanted to convey to you guys. Just give you a little more information about us. I really appreciate the opportunity and your patience with dealing with Dan.
Man, don't do that.
I've known Dan since I was a little kid. So.
Dan hasn't been a problem. Dan has actually exercised a great deal of patience with us. Were you able to show them anything to do with our flooding issue that we're trying to tie into this project?
No, I mean, we were right up to the minute getting back in here.
And I apologize.
Do you think potentially after they finish their portion of it, post-meeting, that you can just run them by and give them a visual of it?
Sure.
Because that is a critical component of this project.
Is it flooding in town? That's where you
We have serious water runoff from the fields adjacent to town. That's anything south of the railroad tracks. We're getting completely inundated.
Coming in.
It's also stormwater that's feeding into our system, going out there, so it's additional to the problems that we have
Mhm.
out there. Our capacity issues are definitely impacted by a lot of this drainage that's coming into our town.
Okay. Okay.
But we've got several businesses and multiple households that are being affected by this.
Do you have a stormwater utility?
No. Looking at that,
Mhm.
or have started looking. And what you saw our plant, we're basically talking about, wrecking that and starting all over.
I don't think that's a foregone conclusion at this point. The tankage, the condition of the concrete structurally itself looks pretty good out there. I can comment even the building that's got the screen in it is surprisingly in good shape. Those things are usually, after this many years, they're falling down on the screen. So that's good. I like the overall idea with the overflow basin there as well. I mean, I think there's something there that can be worked with. I don't think the option is off the table, and I would certainly want to vet this out with you guys, but I don't think the option's off the table to refurbish that plant and expand its capacity the way it works now. And the other thing we briefly talked about was, is there additional land available around the plant? That's usually the first thing you need to figure out, and obviously you guys do have some additional land there. So, it's not a bad, the technology of that plant is not bad. It's just, obviously you've got some things, some components that are at the end of their useful life. You're starting to see valves not working anymore, and the coatings on piping, it's all rusting and stuff because it's 40 years old. But,
Of course, our collection system is deep,
mm-hmm.
very deep, and we have a lot of, or quite a bit of sand, quicksand, where water springs
Yes.
that had to be contended with when we put it in. So going into those might not be an easy.
No, that'd be an easy task.
Just those things get down 10, 12 feet in places.
And then you're looking at, obviously not ideal excavation conditions, so if you're doing, even when you do lining work, if you have lining work that involves, if you've got to go in and do some reconnections that involves excavation from above, that can get pretty costly. Lining's a technology where you technically don't have to dig, but there are some situations with that where you do. Now, they've had a lot of good advances in that, where they've got robotic mechanisms that can go up in the line and do a lot of that work. But all things that's another one. There's no silver bullet. We've costed out projects with communities that with open cut replacement versus some other kind of trenchless technology like lining. And in one community, it may be less expensive to go open cut. In the other, it may be opposite. Usually, we see a combination.
You said Okra requires a 20% match.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maximum or
Minimum match of 20%.
at least that?
Yeah, that was the information I was provided yesterday. I always will defer to your grant administrator to get those details.
Well, I've not been too encouraging. I thought you might.
I wish I had better news. That used to, it was always a 10% match, and then probably before I got in this game there, I know there was no, it didn't require matches, but the last few years, it's been a $500,000 program with the 10% match. Communities trying to come up with about $50,000, which was incredibly hard even at that. And so I don't know how they're going to be able to do it now. And then you're looking at needing to have rates within the $30 to $50 range per 4,000 gallons, which is going to be their benchmark for that $450,000 grant amount. So.
Well, I mentioned this before, the town of Elmore, just west of here, went a $4.5 million water project, replacing everything. And their share was $1 million, which I thought is excellent.
Yes, yeah.
That's what kind of deal we're looking for.
Yeah. Well, there are, there are always exceptions. There's the three main funding agencies that you've probably heard about is OKRA, which is the grant amount. There's SRF, which is State Revolving Loan Fund, and Rural Development. And we work with all of them. The HOCA program we've already talked about, SR